Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Gig. I'm your host, Mike Redman. Before we go any further, please like or follow this podcast so we can help as many musicians as possible. Today, we're talking to Sarah Scarlata from APM. Sarah wears two hats. One is the APM music director, and the other is the bridge between marketing and the music. She's also an amazing drummer who's played in the industry for many years. I believe it's impossible to talk about the music library business without talking to some of the executives and learning about the internal workings of the business. I once owned 2 music libraries with my partners. As far as I know, we were one of the very first libraries to allow full licensed music for all situations online. We had over 6,000 composers, but we were missing one important component. You see, we loved building the systems and working with composers and music, but we were terrible at marketing. So this is a must listen. I love this episode, so let's jump right in. Well, hi, Sarah. How are you?
All right, Michael. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Welcome to Gig. I'm so excited to talk to you. Adam speaks so highly of you. And for those who don't know who Adam is, it's Adam Taylor. He's the president and probably CEO, because there's a lot of titles that float around like that, of APM for many years. And Sarah has been with APM for a long time. And maybe I should start by telling everybody that you're the APM, you're the music director, and you interface with marketing as well. And beyond all of that stuff, you're an amazing drummer. So you understand what it's like to be a musician. I always like to talk to people that actually have done it before. So you're a perfect example, I think, of somebody that has taken a career that's put them close to the music that they love.
Yeah.
Not necessarily out there banging on doors trying to find a gig every week, which, as we know, is very difficult. And I'm going to sneeze here pretty soon. I can feel it coming. So APM, or Associated Production Music, is one of the largest, most respected libraries on the planet. Could you tell us what APM is? And I knew it was coming. I'm going to start that one again. Jeez. Wow. APM is, I'm just doing that a lot. APM is one of the largest and most respected music libraries on the planet. Could you tell our listeners what APM is and what you do as the musical director?
Yeah, so APM, we've been around for over 40 years, and we represent, I'd say, close to 300 libraries from all over the world at different eras. I mean, we specialize in archival music, so things recorded before 1980, and things that are very current and very trendy. So we kind of cover the whole range of stuff. And again, like I said, all over the world, we have beautiful symphonic recordings. We have really cool pop recordings. So we cover the whole spectrum. We license music for TV, film, gaming, sports, advertising, and beyond. So anything you have, podcasts as well, Michael. Yes. So, so we pride ourselves on working with anyone in the industry that needs music. And so, we have so many historic copyrights as well, like the Monday Night Football theme, the People's Court theme,
wow.
All kinds of really fun stuff. So, APM's been around for a long time. And again, we're always, we pride ourselves on customer service too. So, we're easy to talk to. What I do there, so I'm a music director, so it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like a treasure trove of music. Like I feel like a kid in a candy store, because every month we get new stuff. Now, when I say new, it could be brand new. Like I said, it could be really trending, or it could be oh my goodness, this is the coolest Ethiopian pop I've ever heard from 1978,
Wow, that's pretty cool, yeah.
So every month it's kind of like, Christmas, where it's well, what do we have under the tree this month, So what I like to do is I like to pitch music for clients. So they reach out either directly, they usually reach out directly to our sales department or to me personally or whoever, and we handle the requests. So I think it's super fun because I get to stay current too. Even my nieces were impressed that I knew who Dua Lipa was, and it's kind of an
That's
obvious
cool.
one,
Yeah.
But you're old, you're the old aunt, whatever. But I just spent time with them. They're like, wow, Aunt Sarah, you know so much about what I like.
So
and
that's
so anyway, it keeps you young, and no, I enjoy it. So So I do that for as a music director. I've been doing that for a very long time with other companies as well. But On the marketing side, and again, I don't know how I got this lucky, but I I get to write blogs, which I think is super fun. Like, I enjoy like the history of our company and like all the historic placements we've had and our place in the music library landscape. So I always try to find like either something that's unique or something that's historic, and I write about it. And I help out the marketing team with like, also the music side, like playlists, like what are we going to promote this month, anything that really stands out. So I kind of have a dual role, and it's all fun to me because it's music, like you said.
I want to switch gears here a little bit because this is something that I get asked a lot about, and AI. And I have to put it in here because it's, besides the fact that it's really hurting the stock market right now, it is something that musicians and everybody in the music industry that I've talked to has a little different opinion. Some of them are very, very positive, and some are scared to death. And I have my reasons, why I'm not scared to death.
Sure.
But I'd love to hear your take on, where we are today, what music libraries think about and talk about with it coming.
Well, I'm kind of I'm more on the optimistic side, and I'll tell you why. Because like, there've always been disruptors in the industry, right? And I think that our industry is very good at finding these as opportunities and not hindrances. For example, I feel that AI could be used to better the songwriting process without taking over the songwriting process.
Oh, that's good.
I think AI is the ultimate imitator. It's not the ultimate innovator. I think innovation comes from creativity from people. So on that respect, I can't imagine AI making this amazing new style of music that no one's heard before, because it's seeding from things that have already been done.
Right. It's stealing pieces and parts from everything that's already been created, right?
Yeah. So I think the only danger I think for our production libraries is it might take over the simplest, like, if you notice, like reality TV uses a lot of just drum and bass stems, and there's nothing really going on beyond that. It's just a beat. You'll hear a little bit of bass. It might take over something simple like that, which would be a shame because there's a lot of really great writers in that sphere. Yeah. But I couldn't imagine it like taking over our industry. Like, I think that, library music, we built a whole thing for trailers, for example. When trailers changed and it stopped just using score from film scores and became a little bit more creative, that's where libraries came in, and we specialize in sound design, and our industry really took over that whole landscape. And I think that we're very innovative as a whole, the whole landscape of music libraries. I trust that people will overcome this. I don't think it's going to take over what we do. I think there's too many of us, and we're too smart, and I don't trust technology as much as other people do.
I was looking around, and somehow on SoundCloud, I found some music of yours that was drumline.
Yeah.
You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I went to Berkeley in the 90s. I just aged myself. Oops. But anyway.
That's okay. It's all good.
Yeah. So I was a drum set performance major. I mean, drums were my life. That's all I ever wanted to do. I put all my eggs in that basket. So I studied drums. Drum set performance at Berkeley, and when I got out, I was in bands, I was touring, and as you know, I was practically living in a tour van, and I needed money, so I started teaching. You know what I mean? So I started teaching, and one of the things I love about drumming is the rudiments. Like all the great jazz drummers, like Elvin Jones, and all of them, Art Blakey. I was just taken by their stick work, and in order to kind of learn that, you have to learn. It used to be the 26 American rudiments, now it's the 40 International, now it's beyond. DCI took Drum Corps International, did the triple stroke roll, and they added all this dimension to it. So I really got fascinated with that, and I fell into a gig where I taught drumline at a high school. And when you teach drumline at a high school, there's like, you get a little bit of a stipend and whatever, but the fun of it is well, I need to write a feature for my drumline, right? So I learned how to write drumline music, and you could hear what works and what doesn't,
Sure.
And I was lucky to have a bunch of really enthusiastic kids I worked with, so I learned how to write drumline music. So my band, we all moved down to LA because I wasn't a drumline teacher anymore, but I still loved writing it, And when I say writing it, I mean writing it.
Yeah.
Still, but anyway, I was starting off. I don't want to get too much. I mean, I'm sure you're going to ask me some of these questions later, but I was working in a company called Disc Marketing, or DMI for short. And I started at the bottom rung because my band broke up. And again, I just needed health insurance and I needed a job.
I need money. Yeah, I'm a musician.
Exactly. So I was working, and I forgot how, you just have conversations with people around the office. And so Cassie Lord overheard that I was a drumline teacher. And Cassie Lord, I think she was the president of 5 Alarm Music at the time. 5 Alarm Music was owned by Disc Marketing.
Gotcha.
So this is funny. This actually segues into another thing, but this is how I got into production music libraries, right? So here I am at Disc Marketing, which is a music branding company. And I'm like at the mailroom or whatever I was saying. And Cassie Lord comes in and she says, "Hey, so I heard you know how to write drumline music." I said, "Oh yeah." And so I told her about, I just told you about high school drum lines. And she says, "You know what? Liza Richardson is working on, Friday Night Lights, and they licensed all kinds of drumline music that they don't have the rights to for the DVD release." And again, that ages me a little. But anyway, she's like, "Could you just write some quick, easy stuff?"
Yep.
And I'm like, well, Texas drumline is pretty gnarly. Like, those kids are really good. Yeah. She's like, "Oh, I don't need that. I just need something simple. We just need to do background stuff, and we'll pay for the session." And we worked out a deal and everything else. So I said, "Sure, yes." So I did that gig, and it was so much fun because I'd never recorded drumline in the studio, right? And it was so fun. But that's how I ended up getting the job at 5 Alarm. They're like, "Wow, Sarah knows her way around a studio,"
Nice.
and luckily her and Cassie and Maddie were nice enough to give me a job. But
that's
so yeah,
cool.
so that's how I started doing it. But then I got good at recording myself.
Oh, okay.
Like, because drumline to me is a 180, right? When you visually see a drumline, they're spread out in a certain way. So what I do when I record myself is I take tape. And I pretend like I'm each different player. Moving around. And I do the room mics, right? I will close mic it because, as you know, you need, like, if you're doing stems or whatever, you need the different mic angles, Yeah,
and you want some body in the drum too, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you need some attack because recording takes some of that out because it's so loud, right? But I love recording drumline music. I still do it,
That is so cool. That's well, I guess I don't know if I had a rapid fire in here for you, but I'm sure that would be one of your hobbies,
Oh, yeah. No, I love it. Like, speaking, I've been really inspired lately. I feel like I want to write more.
Oh, nice. Very good. Yeah. I'm just getting back to that point right now. So what you do, and libraries are largely misunderstood by just about all musicians, and I'm always trying to teach everybody about, if you want to be successful and stay in the music business, you're either getting a job that's close to music and doing music on the side, or you are a really hustling musician that's got 5 different revenue streams,
Right.
You can't just be the guitar player guy and,
Sure.
and eat. It doesn't, they don't really go together very well.
Unless you're touring with the top, like maybe if you're with Swiftie right now, right?
Yeah,
I think
there's those guys.
Probably okay, maybe them, but yeah.
Right. Mark Bonilla. There's a bunch of guys out there, but there's not as many as you would think. I think most guitarists think that I can do that, and they forget there are 14 million bands. So, oops.
Yes.
So anyway, the library music is really, really big business. And could you talk just about, for a minute, why people, producers and production companies and people like that need to license music?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I will say, I'll start off with this. I'm sure you've heard the statistic that we're to the point to where TV, all the music licensed, at least half or more than half are from production music libraries.
Wow,
So,
no idea.
oh, really? Okay. So we finally got to that point to where we're just slightly more than half, right?
That's
Which is
crazy.
which is awesome. But there's a big reason for that. I mean, I think number one, it's like we control both sides of the copyright. So you
Right.
have the sound recording side and you have the publishing, which is
Sure.
usually the songwriting and the people that control that side, the sync, right?
Yep.
So what's great about music libraries is that when you license with a music library, you're paying one price and all the rights are kind of sealed up, right? So you have that, but on the second side, and this is the side that doesn't get talked about enough, is that library, or like, people like us, like APM, we have something called E&O insurance, is
Oh, yeah.
errors and omissions. And that leads to indemnity, which is the magic word, indemnity.
Right.
So we protect you from any copyright infringement for that track, right? So let's say, I mean, this rarely happens. But this is a cautionary tale. Like,
Sure,
what
yeah.
can happen when you license music? People could come out of the woodwork, like, oh, I co-wrote that with this person. They're not paying me.
Yep.
And then they go after whoever was licensed the music, right? But then it hurts the client. Or, oh, that was too close to this song written in 1978 or whatever, And then, you want to protect the client. So we always protect the client, right?
Yeah.
So if anything comes up, you're protected. You're not going to get sued because you licensed one of our tracks, right? Like,
Yeah.
we indemnify the license.
It's probably worth noting too that with digital IDs now on just about every track, and the fact that a company like YouTube can read through a bunch of dialogue to the softest music in the background, tell exactly what it is.
Yes.
The days of trying to sneak your music by without paying for it or licensing it are long gone, right?
Oh, 100%. And not only that, I've heard that they're getting technology to where, like, people might pitch shift it. The
Oh, yeah.
technology's even getting to where they can notice if you pitch shift it.
I'm a Apple beta tester too.
Oh,
And-
nice.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the iOS, the new beta 4, and one of the just the things that you can pull down. One of the little things that they built in there, Shazam. So
Oh,
it's just,
right.
It's just you just click the button and tell exactly what everything is.
Oh, I use Shazam all the time, by the way.
I do too, because I'm not that hip anymore. So
Nice.
So if I was a musician or a composer, and I know that I'm a good engineer and I create great tracks, should I consider submitting my music to a company like APM?
Yeah, now what's interesting about APM is that we don't really have an in-house library per se, to where we don't have in-house producers where we have our own catalog, if you will. We
Okay.
have something similar like that, like, because we have a custom music department. So things that we retain the rights to, we do have a place for it. But we're not actively producing music. But
Sure.
I do have a link I do send to people for libraries we represent that are seeking submissions.
Oh, okay, that's great. So you're kind of the conduit for all of these other creators and/or libraries.
Yeah, because one of the things that the music team does at APM is we're in constant contact with our libraries, and we're telling them, like, what people are requesting and what we need and whatnot. So we keep in close contact with all of them. And I do like that I have somewhere to send composers, because in the past when I was a producer at other companies, like, if I wanted to sign, I had a budget and I could actually do it, right? But we have so many great libraries that are looking for the great new music. So I think that for composers, what I would say is, like, library music is such a great revenue stream, because like I told you that story about the Friday Night Lights stuff.
Yep.
I'm still receiving really good royalties on that stuff.
Wow.
And it's
Yep.
almost 20 years later, but I'm still getting these checks because it's been placed in movies and TV shows, and that stuff you're gonna get royalties on forever, as long as it's airing.
That's something that I try to explain to people too, as musicians, is that when you're sitting around and you're not gigging and you're not getting your record deal and things, you're creating a lot of music. So
Yes.
put it to work for yourself. You know what I mean? I still get royalties for stuff I wrote 30 years ago.
Right.
And I had one fella, he'd written one song. And he calls me one day, and this is when I had my music source. He calls me, he's all excited. He goes, "Mike, I just got a check for over $25,000. And I'm like, what are you
Yes.
talking about? And he goes, remember that song I wrote for you that was kind of like Jimi Hendrix? Well, they picked it up for the theme for World Wrestling or whatever the
Oh,
wrestling thing is.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said every Saturday they open with that. And I said, well, just pray, send them letters, tell them how much you like that music.
Yeah.
Let's go back in time for a moment. You mentioned earlier when we started that you played with lots of bands, and I found a couple of them, and the Rain for Rent band.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess it's Rain for Rent.
Rain for Rent, yeah.
Was a really unique band. How did they affect your career path?
Well, that was the band that almost made it in my life because we were represented by Owen Husney. Do you know Owen Husney?
I know the name. Don't know.
He discovered Prince.
Oh,
So he was Prince's first manager, and it was amazing. So I'll back up. I was in a band called Glider, and we were like a jam band because we had to fill the whole night. It's like you get hired for 3 hours. What are you going to do? So we just jammed. But anyway, we started getting we started doing what we did, and it came full circle, and then we ended, right? There was this really talented guy named Travis Warren from Texas, and I think he was 17 when I met him, right?
Wow.
And this is in the Central Coast of California, so I wasn't in LA yet, right?
Okay.
And so Travis's songs are really awesome, and he played a 12-string, and he was a picker. Because he came, his dad was a picker, like a John Prine picker, right? And so he was very interesting, had a great voice. So we all, like Glider kind of went over and we did this band with him, right? Because it was new and so fun. So anyway, we started like touring around California and we got a fan base. And then we started recording at Cello Studios, which is now East West. Do you know Candace Stewart and all that? Yeah.
I've met a couple of them through the years.
Oh, yeah. Candace and Gary Meyerberg and anyway, those guys were very nice to us. They were trying to, one of their engineers was young and he needed to be trained on all the boards. So what they would do is in the middle of the night when no one was recording, this guy, Paul Fletcher, was recording us for free, which was nice because he had to learn the boards. They wanted all the mistakes to get out on us and not Tom Petty, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
Yeah. So we recorded our demo there and that's how Owen discovered us. And Owen's like, if you want to make it, you guys got to move down to LA. So we did. Because we were doing a lot of Viper Room shows and things like that on the Strip. And so we just moved down. And so we had like a major label bidding war. It was wild. It was the most wild year of my life. And I got flown to New York to play for Don Einer, the head of Sony Records at the time. But anyway, and I met Steve Lillywhite. He was interested. He came to one of our shows and it was wild. Joe Ciccarelli. I don't know. It's like some of my dreams were coming true. Like the country class party, right?
I'm going to make it.
Yeah. So it was a whirlwind, but I loved that music. I still love that music. We had a great time. It fell apart at the end, as it does.
Yep, it happened. Yep.
That happens, but it was sad to me. But that's when I kind of I'm in LA. I can stay here and try to make it work, or I can just go back home and teach drum lessons. And I'm like, now I'm going to stay here and see what happens,
Yeah, good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah,
that's so.
Oh, by the way, I was going to say before we move on, Travis Warren is the lead singer in Blind Melon. Like he replaced Shannon Hoon.
Oh, really?
So after Rain for Rent broke up, Travis singing with Blind Melon. We're still friends, and we did another band, Lookout Kids, together a little later.
Well, let's jump back to business for a few minutes. You had a stint with Final Love Music, and then landed here at APM. And Maddie Madsen is a good friend, and she has a very successful company now called Current Music.
Yeah.
And would you kind of talk about the difference between what a library does as opposed to what a custom music company does?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and by the way, like Maddie and Cassie gave me my start, so I'm grateful.
Nice.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So, Current's really cool. I think that what Maddie does. So Maddie's a true creative. Like she's in the studio. She's a producer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So custom music is like basically a network or a production house will come to her and be like, "Hey, we need this theme for this new show." Sorry, my cat. I hope that's okay.
I love the cat.
Okay, that's Frankie. He wanted to make his appearance.
Frankie does whatever Frankie wants.
He's been meowing in the background too. So.
Can't.
Okay, good. So so what Current Music does is they'll like do stuff like custom music is like doing things like either on spec, like, hey, how do you like this? They work with somebody. Here's your theme. You want it to sound like, rock and maybe with some fiddle or whatever. She'll make it happen. She'll work with the team until they have something that is made especially for them and their productions, right?
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
And she'll license it that way. And the difference between like a custom house and then what APM does, and by the way, APM, we still do that. We have a custom division. So we also do custom music. But what libraries do is we represent music libraries and we have them in our catalog. Yep. And we have a whole team of music directors, there's 8 of us, and we just pitch all day long, Wow. And so we and the marketing team, we all make sure that all this music is promoted properly. Mm-hmm. And we do everything we can to get the music licensed. We get in the right hands. We send it out to the right people. Mm-hmm. So I think that's
kind of where yours is pre-produced, as opposed to created for.
Sure. Yes, because custom music is all based on the need for that project. Sure. And they make it custom for that project.
Got it. So, Sarah, let me close with this one question, and I put this at the end of just about every interview that I do, which is, if I was watching this or listening and I thought, I love what Sarah does, what advice might you give me to get started or get my foot in the door to head down that path?
Well, that's a good question. I think the PMC is coming up, the Production Music Conference. Mm-hmm. If you can afford it, I recommend it to any person who's wanting to break in the business. And the reason being is because not only are the panels really useful, but the whole industry is there. So if you want to meet people, that's where you meet them. I mean, from all over the world. You know, so you could really expand your network very quickly, I think. But beyond going to the PMC, what I would do, I always tell people to just keep on writing. If you're a musician, keep writing. And, submit to as many things as you can, educate yourself on contracts, because I think that musicians sometimes, there's certain things in contracts you need to be wary of. I mean, just with anything, right?
Sure.
So I think that educating yourself on contracts is important. Mm-hmm. If you want to go on the business side, don't be afraid to start at the bottom. I mean, I started in the mailroom, and I
like the mailroom. I mean,
I didn't like the mailroom, but
do companies even have mailrooms anymore?
But you know what I did do is I shuttle, like I used to, I was a shuttler like person. I would go with CDs in hard drives, and I would go to music supervisors' houses.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I wasn't in the mailroom, they're like, hey, we need a delivery to, Robin Erdang. I'm like, oh, cool. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'll look her up on IMDb. I'm like, ooh, she's amazing, right? That's how I learned about who everyone was. And I'm like, not that I would chat them up because it's rude. My job is just to give them stuff. But I got some FaceTime with all and I'm like, wow, these people are amazing. Like they do some really cool things. And that's how it really made me realize that this was a good fit for me. I'm like, the way that the music helps the story.
Sure.
I mean, there's nothing better than that to me, because I think music tells a story just by itself. But when you pair it with picture, it's like magic to me. So
that's very cool.
You got to find your niche too. It's like what you think you want to do may not always be what is true to your heart. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, trust me, I would love to be touring the world drumming, but I love this just as much, and I never thought I would.
Sarah, this has been really fun. You look like you'd be a lot of fun to work with too.
Likewise, thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Michael. It's great to meet you this way, and fun conversation. I appreciate it.
Isn't this great that we can even do this kind of stuff? I think it's fantastic.
I love it. Yeah, no, it's great.
We'll give my best to Adam, and I will get back in touch with you because I need a couple things from you.
Okay, sure. Sounds good.
All right. Have a great day.
You too, Michael. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.